Speedway Pulse Media is partnered with Pele Motorsport.
That's right. We're an official marketing agent for Sam Paley and Paley Motorsport. If you're looking to get in touch with Sam or us or get on a fast race car, reach out to us today and we'll get you on a fast race car while we reach millions through motorsports today with Paley Motorsport. Wyman, today we have a big interview, number 50 for us.
Absolutely. We got
Uh, I feel like no better way to do it than have a really good driver on with us today, a driver of a GTD. Corey, we want to go ahead and welcome you on. We have Corey Lewis on the show with us today. How are you, Corey?
I'm doing great, guys. I appreciate the time and excited to be on board here.
absolutely. Corey, we love to always, right now you're racing with Gradient Racing with the Mustang, but we like to always start, from the beginning. For where did it start for you for the, this passion of wanting to race cars all over the world?
Well, I mean, to be completely honest, I grew up on a farm, an alpaca farm, and my dad and I and my brother, we would ride, four wheelers and dirt bikes and whatnot. And my brother, who's 4 years older than me, went to school with Marco Andretti,
Oh, wow.
and
Oh, cool.
with going to grade school and high school with the family. Me being the younger brother, always wanted to hang out with the older crowd and my brother and all of his friends and whatnot. And I think obviously the passion behind motorsports or anything with an engine at the time, Marco and I obviously found like a weird connection of like obviously going fast, I guess. And I went to one of Marco's first go-kart races in upstate New York or Flemington, New Jersey, I should say. And from there, I thought it was beyond awesome. And being family friends with the Andretti family, Michael and Mario and Marco kind of took me underneath their wings there for a little bit and kind of introduced me to the world of motorsport and tested Marco's go-kart to start and then ended up getting my own and start as a hobby, something that my family and I would do on the weekends and realizing that I liked it a lot more than I thought I would, and we were getting some really good results early on, and thought maybe, hey, here's a crazy idea. Maybe we can make this into a career at some point in time. And granted, I started when I was 6, 7 years old, and I think by 8, 9, I was like, yeah, I want to be a race car driver. So, with the guidance and help of the Andretti family is really how it all started and being neighbors with the family was clutch, obviously, and kind of helped propel this crazy addiction, I guess you could say, that I have for motorsports. And I like to think I've had a very good career. There's many things that I still want to go do and accomplish, but I'm grateful for the path that I've had and the accomplishments and races that I've been able to be upfront on. Um, but there's always more, right? I think it's just an ambition in life that you always want more and you keep grinding and be a good person. And you just never know where this crazy path might take you.
And like you say, obviously, I grew up. My dad used to race dirt go-karts, so I kind of fell under that wing. And Wyman, you on the other hand, you were right in the concrete world like Corey was.
Yeah, I was a road course guy. Actually, 45 minutes from my house is Roebling Road Raceway, so that's where I grew up cutting my
Okay.
teeth. And so, been all over Florida, Georgia, and Carolinas racing. So, I didn't. I wanted to get up to schools, some of those bigger ones, but the budgets you had to bring to, the guys are paying now to race kart is just as much as some of these, car racing series, and it was kind of eye opening. It was like, wow, you really got to bring a big budget to be able, to make those next steps up.
Yeah, it's wild. Granted, like when I was first coming up, it was early 2000s, really, at the end of the day, I guess right around there. But to your point, like the budgets for karting today's time is just insane. I don't I don't fully understand it. And that was a interesting point that you bring up. Like it's like when I was transitioning from karts to cars, it's the main question was like, well, do you want to race go-karts for a living or try that world for the rest of your career, or do you want to break out and try to do something in the road course world, whether it was open wheel or sports cars? And it's like, well, obviously following the family and what they were doing at the time with Andretti Green Racing and IRL. And I was like, oh, I want IndyCar. But to your point, karting, especially in today's time, uh, I'm hearing some wild figures and it's insane. I don't understand it to be exact, but I guess in today's world, that's what the numbers are getting. And it's almost as much as sports car racing and at a top tier level. So pretty wild.
Right.
It
And
really is.
like you say, obviously, you kind of already hinted at it, and which our next question really fell in line with it. You started your career in open wheel racing, and obviously, like you say, way different from the sports car side of it. But kind of talk about how that jump from going from open wheel to the sports car side of things was for you as an adaptation side.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I'll be honest with you, jumping from open wheel to sports cars, I was so frowned against. Like, I was so against it all. It was frowned upon. I was like, no, I'm going to go open wheel racing. And I was dead set on IndyCar and ultimately came down to opportunity and budget. Uh, Growing up, again, like I grew up on an alpaca farm. We didn't necessarily have the means to go professional racing by any, and we just didn't have the budget for it. So for me to make it through, I started in Skip Barber Racing, did the regional series, national series, did all my 3-day schools through there, and then kind of went up through the Skip Barber ranks, and then realized, well, okay, we won championships there and moved on, and now what? Started in Pro Mazda, did a couple races, won 2 of the 3 races that I did, and then ran out of money. So I was like, okay, well, who do I go to at this point in time? Like the Andretti's got me so far, and I said, well, the rest is kind of on you and kind of good luck. So I was like, okay, how do I navigate through this phase of one, the recession at the time, early 2000s, and trying to chase this weird, crazy passion of mine of motorsports. And um, I fought as long as I could in the open wheel ranks. I guess really to answer your question now is fought as long as I could. I ran out of money. I didn't know what to do. I tested for a race team that was located in Monticello Motor Club. A member had the car, and the team that I was trying to drive for said, "Hey, we have a client that has a Star Mazda at the time," and said, "Hey, come test out this car at Monticello Motor Club." And long story short, I met and actually knew the club pro at the time, the driving instructor pro, from Skip Barber days. And he's like, "Hey, you're actually quite good behind the wheel. What if you tried coaching?" So I was like, "Okay, I've never coached in my life. Like, I can barely coach myself, let alone anyone else." And he said, "Hey, just come try it out, coach some, you know, rookie guys in street cars and see how you feel." And I said, okay, it's not a problem. So long story short, again, I got a full-time job at Monticello Motor Club as a driving instructor, and was there for almost 8 years. And I got to give him credit. If it wasn't for working for there, I wouldn't have transitioned from open wheel to sports car world. I was so against it, like I said, but there's so much more opportunity at that point in time, that there's more sports car racing in the United States. There was more seats available because it's a 2 driver format, and to be honest, the budgets were a lot less and a little bit more attainable, um, to potentially grab a seat. So the owner of Monticello Motor Club actually said, "Hey, you're doing a good job here. We want to support you. What if we sponsor you for one race?" It's the first year that Coda um, opened up, and we were running in the Grand Am series at the time in ST category. I drove a Porsche Boxster, um, and that was my first race and first really time professionally sports car racing. It was an interesting time, and I didn't think I'd like sports cars, but after being at the track and coaching, I've realized, there is a life here. There's a lot more opportunity, and to be honest, I'm still having a blast. So that first race at Circuit of the Americas there, the first year that it opened, really opened my eyes to my passion for motorsports and in sports car racing. Um, that it allowed me to kind of open up a little few more doors there. We had a really good result, good pace, and it kind of just snowballed from there.
Open wheel is such a a cutthroat industry to be in, and even more so now. I think with the way it's really held a pedestal. You look at like the Formula One and IndyCar guys that that eventually they run out of seats, and open wheel racing costs so much more than it is to sports cars. And you're seeing a lot more of these guys realize that I can really have more career out of going to like IMSA, GT Challenge, WEC, so many of these different sports car series, and really make a career out of it. Instead, you look at some of the Formula One teams; those reserve drivers just sit there waiting and waiting, and the longer you wait, that's wasting so much opportunity. I mean, testing, yeah, is a viable option, but everyone in that industry, they want to be in a car and they want to be racing every week at a different track.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And to be honest, like I love motorsport in general, for one, I'll say that. But like IndyCar racing, it's so tight, there's not a lot of passing, there's not a lot of action at times, and depending on tracks and circuits and weather conditions, different variables, right? Whereas sports car racing, and I've said it to a lot of my open wheel friends that, uh, are either still currently racing or now have retired, and I'm just saying, there's so much more to sports car racing, and now they're almost like, maybe we should look at sports car racing and endurance racing and so on and so forth. Like there's still another life outside of IndyCar. Um, and I know like there's like a stigma between the open wheel world and whatnot, saying like, oh, if you go to sports cars, it's because you didn't make it or something or whatever. And I think that's full of it. I think that some of the best open wheel guys can race against some of the best sports car guys or NASCAR guys or any genre. Like if you're a wheelman, I'm sure you can probably figure it out within due time. There are techniques and things for different cars, and I understand that completely. Coming from an open wheel background and big downforce cars and prototypes, and then transitioning to sports cars and dabbling a little bit with the NASCAR world, like every car drives so different, but I just feel that there's so much more opportunity within sports cars, or even heck, even NASCAR now, with all the different levels that they have and in the ladder system, that everyone's jumping around and trying different things and keeping themselves active on off weekends from, say, their primary schedule, or still building a name for themselves in whatever genre that it is, especially in the sports car world.
So much of your career or your beginning of your sports, successful parts of your sports car career was spent with, Lamborghini, and, they're synonymous with, results here in America and abroad. Talk about what that was like getting to be a part of such a, famous manufacturer, and, some of those wins you got to have with Lamborghini, like at Sebring.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I mean, without Lamborghini, I don't know if I had had the career that I would have had. I've been very successful with the brand, and I still work for the brand on the streetcar side of things. So any new streetcars that are coming out, we do tons of events for car launches or media events or prospective buyers, so on and so forth. So I'm still very much in tied with Lamborghini, even though driving for a different brand professionally. But early on after the open wheel world, it was kind of hard to find a seat. Again, another member at Monticello Motor Club at the time was racing in Super Trofeo series and the old Gallardos, which are now kind of fossils to motorsport world. But the member had three cars, and he said, "Hey, I need to run these cars. I have one open. Would you be interested in driving it?" And I said, "Oh, okay." And it was a fully funded ride, and I didn't have to pay anything. So I was eager to chomp at the opportunity to try to, do the best that we can. And I did. I ended up doing that year 6 races, and we won all 6. And that kind of caught the eye of Lamborghini and the head of motorsport there, and said, "Hey, like, okay, we don't necessarily have an American in our roster, so to speak." So it was right place, right time. And then in 2015, the new Huracan was coming out, which is the current generation of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo now, as we transition into the new car for next year. But that car has been around now for the Huracan's been around almost 10 years, 15 years almost, just before 2014. So 10 years, let's call it. And from there on, again, I owe a lot of my credit to my path to Monticello Motor Club, because without coaching there, there's a backstory of how I even got the funding to go race the new Huracan with Lamborghini's help. But it was all because of Monticello Motor Club, and one of the clients that I had at the time I was coaching. It was a cold, rainy day, off-season coaching day at the track at Monticello, and had a great time. It was snowing, it was raining, it was honestly kind of a miserable day and cold day. And we're starting to talk about what we're doing, and what races I've done. And at the time, I was racing the members Lime Green Gallardo and Super Trofeo series, and he's like, "Oh, it looked really cool, and that is a Monster Energy drink logo on the side of it." And I was like, "Oh yeah, like that sounds cool." Like, okay. Long story short, I coached the owner, the CEO of Coca-Cola, and his son.
Wow.
And at the time, they were
Very
buying
cool.
into, I think it was like 25 something percent of Monster Energy drink. He says, "Hey, give me like 3 or 4 more months. Send me an email. Here's my email." And he had a Coca-Cola email address. And I was like, "Yeah, there's no way." And looked it up, and CEO of Coca-Cola and his son. Um, that's how that Monster deal came together. And without, again, the grassroots of being at Monticello, coaching people, and just kind of being a good person, people wanting to help each other out. Um, the members at Monticello giving me the opportunity, the coaching opportunities, allowed me to get that Monster Energy drink sponsorship, which I tried to make the most of, and I feel like I did. Where that 2020, or I'm sorry, the 2015 season, I won every race and then won the North American Championship, won the World Championship, the first time that a U.S. driver has ever won it. Um, and then propelled me into the GT3 side of things in the Huracan platform. And at the time, the head of North America Motorsports, Chris Ward, and overall Motorsports, Georgia Asana, was a big fan of mine and kind of took me under their wing and allowed me and propelled me into the GT3 side of things, and allowed me to race not only in the States but overseas for a couple times, and racing at legendary circuits like Imola, and the Spa 24, Silverstone, just to name a few. And then they put me in over in Asian Le Mans, where I was running Japan and China and all these other things, and we were still getting results. So I kind of rode that Lamborghini train for almost a decade. Um, and I'm so grateful for it, because without that, I don't know what my potential career could have been.
Right. And obviously, like you say, kind of taking a step back here, I guess you could say, we've seen you have a couple different opportunities in a prototype, one of which we saw Lyman was doing some research for the interview. He saw you went to Roebling Road and tested a prototype. So, kind of talk about how your prototype career was there for a little bit.
I mean, obviously, like, open wheel background, I thought prototypes was going to be the way to go, because it's somewhat similar, just a bit heavier of a car. And again, trying to stay away from the sports car genre in my early career, I was like, all right, I'll go prototype racing. It's basically like an open cockpit, bigger Indy car. So I was fighting for, at the time in Grand Am and early IMSA days, the LMPC class. So I was hitting up all the race teams that were in that particular class. And Bar One Motorsports was the first one to really kind of take me under their wing and give me an opportunity. And I kept pounding, I kept knocking on the door, and I was like, "Just bring me to a test. Let me see if I can prove myself to you that I'm worthy of an opportunity." And Roebling Road was one of my first ever tests in that prototype car. I had no idea what I was doing, to be completely honest, but fake it till you make it. And it worked out. Like, I had a good test. The car came back in one piece. We were fast. Rafa Matos was my benchmark at the time, and they invited me to come to another test at NOLA in New Orleans there, and I was faster than Rafa at the end of at the end of the test. So I
Oh,
was like, all
wow.
right, maybe I'm onto something, or I'm just completely fearless and clueless of how to drive these things. Because even Rafa was like, I don't know how you did that time, or how is that possible? But I had such a drive in my mind of like, I know I can do it. I'm going to keep knocking on these doors and strive for an opportunity to hopefully prove myself that allows me to get to the next step. So it's always trying to figure out how to stay active and ultimately, make a career out of it.
Last year we saw you do the P3 at Mid Ohio, and that was a really successful weekend for you with continue with Rafa Racing there. And so, you know, even so, more people know you for your GT accolades with BMW and Lamborghini, and now with Ford though. But you even still keep some of that prototype racing up and did the VP Challenge at Mid Ohio.
Yeah, no, I like it. You got to be a chameleon, so to speak. You got to adapt and try to be versatile as best as you can. And I've been grateful enough to have coaching clients throughout my years here, where a few of my main sponsor actually for this year, Strategic Wealth Designers, Matt Dickin, great family friend of mine now, and have been friends for almost 10 years. And I raced in the Continental Tire Series with him in the Boxster and Cayman. Um, big big supporter and forever grateful for all his support. But he made many years in the LMP3 category. So a lot of even though he drove solo, but we always did a lot of testing. So I ended up having to be in the car to do data laps or some sort of coaching. Kind of was allowing me to refine my skills there and stay within the open wheel mindset and big downforce that allows me to be uh, an option for prototype category cars, which I wish I had more opportunity there, like LP2 or heck, even the GTP cars now would be a dream. But um, yeah, no, I'm grateful for every opportunity, and that weekend at Mid Ohio was a good weekend for us. I wish I could have took a sweep on the weekend, but to get one race win for sure in the dry was good. And had I not gotten hit in race two on a restart, I think potentially could have had a sweep there and double wins. But motorsports is motorsports.
Right. And like you
And the
say, go ahead, Wyman.
No, well, when you kind of take a step back and look at it, do you feel that if you maybe pursued more the prototype opportunities, that some of these GT opportunities wouldn't have opened? And because obviously the GT has been your wheelhouse and where so much of your success has been.
Yeah, it's everything. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. Um, One way or another, open wheel didn't work, unfortunately. I loved it. I wanted to be there. I wanted to run the Indy 500. I thought, you know what? There's so many guys that have raced the Indy 500 that I've raced against in sports cars, and I've beaten them so many times. I'm like, if that guy can do it, I can do it, relatively speaking, right? I'm not saying I'm going to go in and go win the thing, but if someone can do something, why couldn't I, right? Um, so it's just I wish I had more opportunities in the prototype stuff to kind of really get to that phase of like, hey, he's a true contender. But also, I'm so grateful for the path that I've had. And without taking the path that I had, to your point, I don't know if I would have had the success or the career that I've had. And um, to say I've won the Rolex 24, to say I've won the Sebring 12 hour twice, I've been on the podium at every endurance race. I got to race in some of the greatest sports car races overseas before in Spa, the 24 hour. Obviously, I love to do Nürburgring and Le Mans, but you know, I count my blessings. I'm forever, forever grateful. Um, yeah, I guess hindsight's 2020. I'm happy with where I'm at, but obviously, um, you always want more. And I'll never say never, but hey, maybe a prototype at one point in time may come together. Kind of slim pickings, but I think I've already set my path in the sports car world. But never say never.
Right. And like you say, honestly, I mean, me and Wyman, we're on the same boat. I mean, we've counted every single blessing that we've had thrown at us with this racing media stuff. I mean, we started out on a limb messaging and DMing drivers thinking, we're never going to get one of them. But now, obviously, you're the 50th one that we've got on the show, and we're always grateful for that. And just great to see the progression. But kind of swapping now to the Ford side of things. And I think, Wyman, now's the good time you tell the story you've been wanting to tell Corey for the past couple of years.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. So I know it's probably not a good memory, but when you were still with Proton and that was 2024 in the at Petit Le Mans. I think you might know where this is going.
I think I do.
Uh, so when I stopped racing, I just turned 18, and so I stopped karting. I picked up kind of out of on a limb. I picked up corner marshaling, just something to stay involved in the sport, and I thought it was pretty cool. And so I'd been doing that for a while. And so petite, so 2022 was my first year doing petite. I did it the next year, and then in 24, I was at the top of the hill at 5 Alpha, and that was in the final hour when I was looking down or toward when y'all were coming at me, and so we were on this long green flag run of, I guess, what maybe like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
And so I seen an in car of Danny Formal because he was behind you. But what kind of happened there? Because I remember the car coming to a skid and no headlights, and you were looking like right at me, right when I was trying to wave the yellow. So I kind of want to know what kind of happened in that moment.
Well, you did your job to start because I remember looking at that corner worker and it was you, which is such a small, crazy world that here we are now. You were waving your yellow flag, and thank you because you probably saved my life. So, um, in that situation, I'll never forget it. Like it's a horrible kind of feeling that I had, obviously, but um, there was a car that just came out of the pits on cold tires, and it was maybe 45 minutes left in the race, maybe a
Something like
little bit
that.
less,
It
something
was
of that.
I know
around
it
an
was the
hour,
last
maybe.
hour.
I
Yeah,
remember last hour.
yeah, something of that. And to be completely honest, we were running out of brake. We were running out of brakes, so the brake pads on the front were completely gone at this point in time. And I ultimately made the ultimate decision to be like, we're not stopping for brakes because if we stop, we have no chance. We're not gonna be on the podium. And I think we are either second or third at that point in time. And it was me and Jan Halen and last hour, and I'm like, we're gonna go for it. Car comes out of the pits, cold tires, coming out of three, going down the hill through the S's, and he's just has no grip. So he's backing me up. And then Jan and I were basically neck and neck. So I'm blocking Jan so I don't lose my position. I'm trying to get by the guy ahead of me. And coming out of five up the hill, Jan just drives straight into the back of me and basically kicks my rear end completely out and then hits me again and then sends me off into, I believe it's the outside wall at that point in
Yeah.
time and basically right in front of you. And I believe I bounced off Jan. I don't know if I ever made it to the wall, if I remember correctly, but it bounced off Jan, which then completely totaled the front end of my car, took all the headlights out of it, and then basically left me almost center track,
It was
maybe just
just
about,
about,
maybe to
yeah,
the left side.
yeah.
I remember sitting there, I'm like, all right, well, this sucks. Like, no one sees me. Hopefully this caution comes out soon. And inside our race cars, we have in-car flagging system. So I'm like, well, it still says green flag on it. I'm like, well, that'll quickly change. And clearly everyone knows, like, there's a car sitting here in the middle. Um, and then I started seeing more headlights coming kind of like back up the hill. And I see your flag waving. I'm sitting there like hitting like the flasher button on the steering wheel. Obviously, nothing's happening because I don't have headlights. But I remember for a split second, like, surely they're going to throw a caution. Headlights start getting closer and closer. First wave of cars go by, still at full tilt. I don't know how they didn't hit me. And at that point in time, I was like, well, no one knows I'm actually here other than you. For whatever reason, race control never really brought out the caution right away. It was a really scary moment to the point where I'm like quickly thinking, I'm at an angle of sorts that if I were to get hit by a car, the passenger side's going to take the brunt of the hit, and I'm going to curl up into a ball and hope that that doesn't happen. So I cinched my belts down as tight as they possibly could and sat there in a ball, basically, waiting for the caution to come out. And then I finally, unfortunately, did get hit by the Wayne Taylor car, which is battling for the championship, which Ricky, I thank him almost every day in my mind because without his cat-like reflexes, and he didn't hit me directly. He just nicked me, and obviously he was able to quickly kind of steer away. But if he hit me directly head on, I don't know how that would have ended. Um, would we be okay? I don't know. But that was probably one of the craziest moments in my career where you're kind of just helpless and hoping that, things slow down, cars slow down, and the caution comes out, and all you're trying to do is see the safety guys that are coming to get you. I remember getting hit, and it kind of gave me like a Charlie horse inside the seat. So when I finally get out of the car with the safety workers, they asked me if I'm okay, and I guess pure adrenaline at the time, I was like, "Yeah, I'm totally fine. Like, just get me the hell out of here. Like this is way too much excitement." I get out of the car and I had like a Charlie horse on my right leg. I'll never forget, and I fall down. And the the safety worker's like, dude, you told me you were okay. And I'm like, yeah, I am fine. I got a Charlie horse. So like pull my ankle up. Like let's like strain this thing out. So that was like the funny-ish moment of it all. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I just got a Charlie horse. But I try to make light of the situation. But in all fairness, like the race director called me the next morning and he apologized and he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought, we didn't see you. Uh, but in in a grand scheme of things, I'm grateful that Ricky and I are both okay and that things weren't worse and more people were collected or whatever it may be. But I count my lucky stars, and that was one of those moments in my career where I was like, wow, this things we get serious. You think it'll never happen to you, and then you find yourself in a situation where you're kind of helpless and you're just sitting there and it's sitting duck. And I can't imagine from your point of view, sitting in the flagger stand, like, looking at everything that's happening, what your point of view might have been, but it's just a crazy kind of small circle, full moment, I should say, situation right here. So it's pretty wild.
Right.
It
And
happened,
just to add to it, I think it's the funny part because Wyman, you might get in trouble for this if anybody in SCCA or IMSA watches this, but you called me directly after it whenever the yellow flag came out and you said, I just screamed at race control for 3 solid minutes and they will not do anything until Corey Lewis gets hit. And I'm like, shocker.
yeah, that was the thing. Like, it happened at the worst possible spot. Because it's so, going up that hill is so blind. And in the moment, I think Control thought that you were going to get it refired and keep on going. It really took that secondary impact of, Ricky Taylor to kind of Race Control wake up, realize, okay, there's a little more going on than what they initially thought because they didn't really have a camera there, but they still had, the video board was zooming in on it. And so at the same time, I was kind of like, you know, I think what happened was they started opening the pits and trying to get the leaders in, and
Yeah.
then that's when the secondary impact happened, and then that's when they realized, well, we better stop this and go, see what's going on over here.
Yeah, and that was kind of my afterthought also. Normally IMSA allows, hey, like, if he's somewhat more so off the racetrack, they'll allow the leaders at least to come by once to get your pit stops in. I get it. I understand it. Uh, I've lived it. I've been part of that sequence where like, oh, everyone pit before the caution. Um, but I just simply couldn't move. My front end was destroyed and the engine was off, and I couldn't restart. And honestly, if I could restart, I didn't know where I could go. I could try to go reverse and back myself out of the situation, or drive directly to you to the flagger stand, which may have put me in more of harm's way.
I think
So,
it probably would have, yeah.
so I was like, I'm just gonna sit here. I felt like I was middle left of the track, that I'd be so far away, but with everyone racing as hard as they were, it didn't necessarily matter. Like it's like they're going to go where I was, and again, I'm just grateful that it wasn't as bad as it could have been, and a moment that I personally just don't want to live again.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That was from both of us, that was I was one of the scared times I was because I remember the wheel or, piece of the suspension flew over the first set of fences where I was and landed just right in front of that secondary fence where the spectators were.
No way, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, it was either a wheel or a piece of suspension. It was a big piece.
And
And
that
I was,
wasn't the first time that something like that's came at you at Road Atlanta. In that same corner, you had a LMP2, I believe, go dead directly at you there for a minute.
yeah, my first year doing the petite, I had a guy, I want to say it was maybe TDS, had his headlight go through the fence and nabbed me in the knee the first year I did the petite. So I was, kind
Jesus.
of right there. I've had some, close, close calls.
Yeah, man. You did your job. I remember looking up and seeing the flag waving, so I'm grateful for you.
I
It's
remember
just a truly a crazy kind of full circle moment for me. It's pretty wild.
that I tell people that was kind of my glory moment because I remember my mom ended up texting me afterwards and she knew that's where I was flagging and she was like, wow, they got in right on top. The camera zoomed right in on top of you during it.
Yeah, that was a wild
That
moment, and don't want to do that again. But
that was
if it
probably
happens, it happens.
my scared one of the most moments I was really scared because, of what, so many of those situations go in your mind of what can really happen. And I think where the car parked, you were probably at the best spot, but at the same time, it was not really a great spot because there was, like you said, nowhere really to go.
Yeah, no, I have weird flashbacks of it every now and then, like, wow, that was pretty wild. Or, I try to make light of it because other people talk about it too. And it's like, yeah, it's part of it. I know we all know the risks that we take when we strap ourselves into these race cars and whatnot. You never think it's going to be you. And then you find yourself in a situation like that and you just count your lucky stars a lot of the times when you make it out unscathed. And honestly, I thank you guys, like the corner workers, the safety people, the heck, sometimes race control, even though they might be a little delayed on the call. And I love them to death, but you count your lucky stars and the people that are involved that ultimately still keep you safe at the end of the day.
That was
Right. And
one of the
like you
moments.
said, now shifting away from that crazy story Wyman has been dying to tell you for the past 4 years. He's like, I hope we get Corey on the show just to tell him it. But this year you've been a part of Gradient. So kind of highlight how this year is going for you being a part of Gradient and how kind of the team morale is going into race weekends and being prepared for races.
Yeah, no, being a part of Gradient's been great, to be completely honest. I've known the team owner, Andrew Slavins, for many, many years, and we've always talked about the possibilities of driving together, working together. And um, when I left Lamborghini, it kind of left me on a little bit of an island by myself, where because Paul Miller Racing went from Lamborghini to BMW, and I stayed there for a year or so and kind of drifted away from the Lamborghini side of things. And then Paul Miller went to full factory backed effort, where they hired only factory drivers, and I wasn't a factory BMW guy. So that kind of left me on kind of figuring things out myself. So I was a little bit of a journeyman after that and trying to figure out, all right, what's the next step? What teams can I go drive for? And again, budgets were insane to try to, secure yourself a seat with sponsorship and being in touch with the Gradient race team and Andreas and trying to figure out, all right, how do we make this thing happen? And grateful enough for strategic wealth designers with Matt Dickin and Bold Up Maple Syrup and Rocky Boldick, who's another client of mine that races in Super Trofeo and is doing a great job in LB Cup. And Matt racing for many, many years together. And whether it's co-driving or coaching, he took the year off and spent a lot of time with his son Winston and family, Colleen. And it was just a year of people kind of coming together to allow me to go chase again, this crazy motorsport dream that we have and the passion that we have for it, and people that just believed in me, and I'm forever grateful for. The deal kind of came together last minute. To be honest, the seats are hard to come by. A lot of these teams now, they just resign the same guys over and over and over again, and the budgets are still there. I don't know where it's coming from or where the money is, where they're growing it in their backyard. I don't know where money grows on trees, but the budgets just keep getting higher and higher, and you're like, I just simply can't do that. Like, good for you guys if you find millions of dollars underneath your pillowcase, but that's just not my case. It's not my lucky stars there. So my deal came together pretty last minute and trying to figure out, okay, what races can I do? And ultimately, like, I'm a big endurance race guy, so I was always trying to push for the endurance races in IMSA. Um, and then it came to an opportunity of like, well, what about just the sprint races? And then Daytona as a one-off. And I said, okay, well, that's great. I'll do that. Keeps me active, keeps me out there, keeps me in the paddock, keeps my face there, and the potential of having a decent result. So that's kind of how my deal with Andrus and Gradient and Ford and my past history with Ford and when the debut year, the new Ford Mustang GT3, Ryan Hardwick gave me that deal as a help, and again, Strategic Wealth Designers helped kind of finalize that deal for me on the was that 2024. Um, Ultimately, you're just trying to find results to keep propelling to stay in it for the year to come.
Being a part of Gradient and with them moving to the Mustang, how important was it for, someone like you? You look at Till as well and Joey Hand, all three of y'all know the Mustang really well and have good experience with it. While Jake Walker, no slouch to him, he's a fantastic driver, but he just doesn't, know the Mustang quite as well as you and Joey did. Do you feel that his progression getting used to the Mustang coming from the BMW and some of the Lamborghini stuff like you did has really improved since, the Roar. And now as we look towards, we just finished CTMP and look towards Road America at the end of the month.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's a funny story with Jake and I. Jake's 20 years old, and I was the help to get his IMSA license when he first started. He grew up in New Jersey Motorsports Park. I was in Pennsylvania, only a couple hour drive. He was getting in the Super Trofeo series. He was racing that car at the time and trying to get in the series, but he needed an IMSA license. So Lamborghini said, "Hey, help out this young kid. He's got a ton of potential." And long story short, helped him get his IMSA license, and he went off and did his own thing in Trofeo, then ran at Turner. So it was like another full circle moment of Jake and I kind of running together, and then obviously with Till and Joey being within the Ford family for quite some time. He's a breath of knowledge and fresh air of terms of how to drive the cars and so on and so forth, which are every car is so unique and how you drive and how aggressive you can be. And sometimes the harder you push, the slower you go. And sometimes not trying at all, you end up going faster. And it's a wild concept to kind of wrap your mind around while you're in the moment of things. But um, Jake was a wheelman. He always will be a wheelman. The kid's just good. He's very, very good for his age. Like I said, he's 20 years old, but he's like a sponge. You tell him something, he's very, very coachable, and he has a great support system within his family. And he has Buddy Rice, Indy 500 winner, himself in his corner, also as his mentor, and working with Buddy and knowing his setup knowledge and so on and so forth this year has been heck. I've been taking notes too. So you surround yourself with good people and people with good hearts just want us all to do well at the same time, right? If you're successful, I'm successful, we're all in the same race car together. We all win at the end of the day. So that's the beauty of sports car racing. Whether you've had beef in the past with certain drivers or whatever, but you just never know that next year you might be driving with them. So um, I always try to do my best to not burn any bridges or create any enemies and apologize when I am wrong. Just because this motorsports world is so small. But being with Gradient Racing and Jake, Till and Joey has been a fun year, to be honest. And it's a shame that we just haven't had the results that I feel like we ultimately deserve. We're the little team that can. We're a smaller team, but such a great group of guys and girls that make the weekends happen. And I wish I could say we've had a great season so far, but ultimately, it's just the results haven't been the greatest. And I thought Watkins Glen, heck, if we had one more caution, we could have been on the podium, if not win the dang race. And in Mossport, had we not gotten doored by the Corvette, and me having the dirt track on the fastest corner in the circuit, maybe we could have been in top five. I don't know.
Right.
It's
And
pretty. Oh, you go,
go ahead.
Dylan.
No, go ahead.
It's pretty. When you look back at the season, the speed has been there. I mean, you look at Daytona right until what the last handful of hours y'all were contending for it. Sebring, heck, y'all were on a really, aggressive fuel strategy. And then Long Beach, y'all were right there in the fight. So many races this year, the speed has been there and y'all are able to, put up the fight. It's just been the results. But as you look towards the last few races of the season, Joey unfortunately got that injury right before Watkins and had to miss out. But do you feel that likely that if y'all could put together a complete race and not have any of the issues, that we could see you on the podium, if not maybe win one before the season's up?
100%. To be completely honest, 100%. Um, we've been so close, and unfortunately, it's either strategy in terms of yes, aggressive fuel strategy for Sebring with Joey and the gang. Heck, they could have won that thing if there was another caution, and it just didn't happen. Long Beach could have been on the podium, and with what, I don't know, 6 minutes to go in the race, I got taken out by a car that is doing a one-off, like completely unnecessary move, ruined both of our races because they didn't even get their podium. They got a drive through, so like silly situation there. And then Watkins Glen, we're up front, we're battling for the lead, and we had to go on again aggressive fuel strategy and start saving fuel and hoping for a caution. And that was the dice, and those are the cards that we had to deal with. And we rolled the dice, and it just unfortunately didn't pan out. And I felt like Mosport, we struggled a little bit early on, but our race pace has always been pretty consistent and actually towards the top of the field. It's just trying to find track position. The IMSA WeatherTech Championship is so competitive that, a tenth of a second makes such a difference over a stint of the race. I just truly wish that we could put that final exclamation point at some of these races, because I truly believe that we are so close to doing something great. And unfortunately, just the racing gods haven't been on our side, and it is what it is. And you got to keep your head down, keep acting like mentally that you're winning these races and that you're a rock star and that you're grateful for the opportunity, and um, just gotta keep pushing.
Right. And like you say, obviously, so far, you've had a great, interesting career. Easy, I'll say easy career to follow. I mean, we've heard about the name all the time. Anytime that you go to a race, you hear the name Corey Lewis. So, I mean, obviously, you're doing something right out there on the track. And we want to wish you the best in your career as far as it goes the rest of the way. And be sure to tell everybody at the team, talk with us. Hopefully, we can get the rest of y'all guys on straight by the end of the year.
Absolutely. No, I'm forever grateful. Thanks for the time, guys, and I appreciate the kind words and you guys looking out for me in 2000, was it 24 at Petite
Yeah.
there. Crazy, crazy small world here. But no, I'd love for you to chat with Joey and Till and Jake at some point in time. It's very, very cool. I love doing these type of things, so I'm glad to be on board.
Oh, yeah. We got Jake earlier this year. So we just got to finish up with Joey and then Till.
Perfect. I must have missed Jake's, otherwise I would have said that. But that's awesome. We'll get Joey and Till on there for you.
Absolutely. We'll be at
Awesome.
Petite, so hopefully we'll see you in just it won't be long.
For sure. No, it'd be great to catch up in person.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Corey.
No worries, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
As
Thank
well.
you.